Hey everybody, it's Kelly. Welcome back to another episode of Ask a Therapist. For the last couple of years, Thanksgiving week, I have done some Reddit responses, and we're doing that again today. Most of these stories have been picked up by somebody else, and I'm reading them for the first time. I'm going to respond to them as I read them, and then again after. Let's go. All right, the first one. Am I the asshole for not letting my son's friends in quotes, stay for Thanksgiving? I promised my 16-year-old son that he could have his friend visit from out of town. I share custody with my ex-wife, so he splits his time between our cities and stay over for Thanksgiving until school break is over. However, I started to notice some suspicious behavior. Hi, handsome. As a greeting when they're FaceTiming, calling him bub. Even my son's laugh when he was talking to him is different. I decided to look at my son's phone, and the very first thing I see in their messages is a selfie of the friend shirtless in bed. I knew for sure then. Why? Number one, why are you looking at your son's phone? He's 16. Parents have to understand there needs to be some semblance of autonomy given as kids get older. There needs to be some semblance of privacy. This attitude of, well, I pay for your phone so I get to look at it all the time, is absolutely insane. There needs to be accountability and there needs to be guidance for teenagers on how they use their phone. But sneaking your teenage son's phone and looking at it ain't it. I told my son his friend couldn't come for Thanksgiving and explained why. His brother can't have his girlfriend over and he can't have his boyfriend over. Everyone's acting like I'm wrong for breaking the promise, though. Am I the asshole? I mean, at this point, you have to assume his son's friend has already made plans. Like, these are 16-year-olds, and the 16-year-old has already told his parents he's coming over for Thanksgiving, right? He's going out to another town for Thanksgiving. I don't understand the theory behind, oh, you can have a friend over, but not a significant other. That doesn't make any sense to me. I guess that's family rules, and I appreciate the fact that it's not specific to him having a boyfriend. His brother can't have his girlfriend over, right? So I appreciate that piece. But yeah, kind of. You're kind of the asshole, because there are so many other ways to handle that other than, oh, you're dating him, so no, you can't. Because no matter how you intend it, at 16, it is very unlikely that your son sees it as anything other than homophobic. Like, what are we looking at here? Do you not have a place to house them because you don't want them in the same room? Okay, can we work something out? Do you have 2 bedrooms for your 2 sons? Once the plan is already set, when you change it, problems do happen. It's also possible your son wasn't ready to tell you that he was with another guy. So you have now forced the issue. You forced your son out of the closet because you want to stick to a rule that is honestly a weird rule in the first place. There just needs to be more conversation about this. Like, the ways that you as a parent your queer child will inform their understanding of their worth for a long time, if not forever. So yeah, the way that you went about this is kind of an asshole thing because it should have been done with more care rather than took your phone, saw a shirtless picture, you must be together, and now he can't be here. No matter how you explain it to them, they're still gonna see it that way. And honestly, he has a right to see it that way because you're his dad. I understand you live in a different city and that's probably really hard. I can understand you saying, no, you can't bring a friend because I want to spend that time with you. It's a holiday and I don't get to see you that often. You have every right to do that. But to draw the line between a dating relationship and a friend relationship with no real context, like we don't have any context here, to draw that line is odd. And to sneak into your kid's phone to find out what they're doing, also odd. All right, next one. Even skimming this is going to be a lot of fun. Okay. Am I the asshole for not going to my family's Thanksgiving? My sister won't invite my brother-in-law. She hosts every year because she has 5 kids and says it's just easier. I get that. If you've got kids, putting them in the car and taking them to someone else's house for food that they might not actually even eat, that's difficult. Totally get that. Brother-in-law is gay and it makes her husband uncomfortable. Got it. I'm still going to drop off the pies that I made. That way she has them, but I'm going to spend it with him so that he isn't alone. I was raised that no one should spend a holiday alone. I guess she missed that lesson growing up. I think next year we're going to just do Thanksgiving at our house and just do something small. I asked her last week. She said she'd think it over. I asked her again because you should never assume, and she told me no. She told me I'm acting like a child and throwing a tantrum. I feel what I'm doing is right. Am I the asshole? No, you're not. Okay, here's the thing. Sister's husband has the right to decide who comes into his house. That is true. OP gets to decide where he spends Thanksgiving. I have an actual problem with the sister because she's not even saying she has a problem with it. She's saying her husband has a problem with it. And I am super suspicious of people who are married to and continuing intense close relationships with people who won't be around queer people. When we continue relationships with people who are avoiding queer people altogether because they are not comfortable, you're endorsing their behavior on some level. There are times that we can't get out of that. Absolutely, I understand that. But this is your husband. This is the person that you are married to, that you are raising kids with, and you are allowing his homophobia to dictate who can come to your Thanksgiving dinner. We're not talking about someone who has like a negative history with sister's husband, right? We're talking about someone who happens to be gay. That's it. That's his only offense. No, don't even drop off the pies, dude. They don't need your pie. Take your pie to your brother-in-law, have a good old time with him, and just hang out with the family that don't hate people actively just for being who they are. All right, this one's a long one. Here we go. I'm a 32-year-old woman, and I've been with my wife, Ava, who's 34, for 8 years. We've been married for 5. She was a single mom of 3 kids when we started dating. She has 2 daughters who are now 10 and 12, and a son who's now 16. So she's been in these kids' lives for a long time, for 8 years, since the youngest was 2 and the oldest was 8. So that's a long time. I've watched these kids grow up. Sure. Yeah. I've read them bedtime stories, done bath time, first days of school, PTA meetings, all of it. I very much consider them to be my kids, and they've been calling me mom for almost 6 years now. My brother Ivan, who's 28, just had a baby girl with his fiancée, Sarah. I love my niece. My kids adore their cousin. My kids have been the only grandchildren on my side of the family since Ava and I got together. There's never been a moment where the kids and my wife were treated like they didn't belong. That's how it should be. However, the fact that you're specifying that makes me think that's not going to continue. My brother is their uncle. My mom and dad are their nana and pop-up, and the kids see my family as their family. And I always thought that my family felt the same way about them. I don't like this one already. The kids and I were over at my brother's house just hanging out, and my parents ended up dropping by with gifts for my niece. Ivan laughed when he saw the toys and told her mom and dad they were going to end up spoiling her rotten. My mom said that my niece is their first grandchild, so of course they have to spoil her. Your first But see, you're also asking the kids, like, you have had these kids for the last 8 years, at least 5 years, call you grandma and grandpa, like Nana and Papa, not whatever, Mitzi and Bill, whatever your names are. I mean, you actively requested this, right? Because it doesn't sound anywhere here like OP turned around and was like, hey, they're going to call you Nana and Papa, right? My kids were sitting in the living room with all of us, and my youngest daughter looked hurt when she realized what my mom had said. My son and my 12-year-old didn't fully react, but I could tell it bothered them too. Sarah, this is the fiance, spoke up and said, oh, you mean your first grandbaby, not your first grandchild. Good job, Sarah. We love Sarah. My dad shook his head and replied that my niece was their first grandchild. Doubling down. Twice now, we're saying this. I didn't want my kids to keep sitting there and listening to that, so I handed my son my keys and told him to go wait in the car with his sisters. When they were gone, I asked my parents why the hell they'd say that my kids weren't their grandchildren. My mom said they couldn't be their grandchildren because they weren't really my children. What? That's insane. That is absolutely... You've asked them to call you Nana and Pop. Like, it doesn't... Why does blood mean so much to these people? What kind of weird hillbilly existence are you living that blood is the most important thing? Like, and these grandparents have like doubled down on it now. They're like, no, this is my first grandchild because these aren't your children, but they are. They've been in her life and their lives for 8 years. They have watched these 3 kids grow up. Oh, so this is how it's a Thanksgiving story. I was missing this piece. Okay. My wife and I were going to be hosting Thanksgiving at our house this year, but I told my parents that if they didn't view my kids as their family, then they could just host a meal at their own house with their real family, and I would spend the holiday with mine. So she said, don't come over for Thanksgiving. I'm going to spend it with my family. And since they're not your real family, you shouldn't be there. Got it. Good job. I left before they could say anything else to me, and my wife and I had reiterated to the children that they will always be my kids and I will always be their other mom, regardless of our DNA. Right. Exactly. Because parenting is a choice. Being a parent is a choice. I understand some people don't get that piece, but like if you're a parent, you should understand that. DNA can't be the deciding factor of whether or not you love your child. My brother is pissed at me now because he thinks I reacted too harshly and that I should try to see where my parents are coming from. My mom texted saying that she and my dad love the kids, but they still aren't their grandchildren. Oh my God. what is wrong with this woman? And she hopes that we can come to an understanding about that because she doesn't want to ruin my niece's first Thanksgiving. She has just verbally abandoned the 3 children who call her daughter mom and call her Nana. But this infant that's not even going to remember it, she is concerned. Why are people like this? The last sentence, I haven't replied back. I meant what I said, but I'm worried that I may be reacting too harshly. No, you are not reacting harshly enough. You protect your children, okay? To have that said to you, to have people that you've considered your family for your whole life say you're not really family because you're not blood related is so aggressively wrong. It's giving homophobic vibes. In reality,
well, they have a mom, and yeah, you're their mom, but you're not their mom, so it doesn't count.
But this kid has a mom and a dad, and that's why it what counts?
She's never going to remember this year, but those other 3 kids will. They'll remember for the rest of their lives when they discovered that people they thought were family and they thought were reliable humans in their lives, reliable adults, said they didn't matter as much. And they'll remember that. All right. Am I the asshole for not going to my family's Thanksgiving? I'm going to read the TLDR one because it's long, and the other one was long too. My parents kicked me out after I was outed as gay. Oh my God. So you didn't even get to tell them who you were. Someone else told them and then they kicked you out. Hold on. I got to hear this. I got to read this story. How did parents find out? Well, I guess that's not in here. Dang, I really want to know. I want to know who to not like. Okay. TLDR, we're back. I had lived with my friend for 2 years. Parents reached out wanting to reconnect, but didn't apologize to me for what they did. Then you don't talk to them. Y'all, you are not under any obligation to communicate with people who treat you as less than human, no matter what their relation is to you. There is no such thing as, but I'm your mother, but I'm your father, but we are blood. No. Screw that. If you cannot treat somebody with respect, or at the very least, can't admit that you didn't treat them with respect and apologize for what you did, own up to it. If you can't do that, you don't get that person back in your life. And you don't get to be mad at anybody but yourself. They didn't apologize to me for what they did. My mom invited me to our family's Thanksgiving that all of my homophobic family members were going to be at. The family wanted me there, but I declined. Now my family is upset with me for not going to the reunion. Think I'm an asshole for not letting go and forgiving them without an apology. Sure, that makes sense, because why would you be allowed to have your own autonomy about who you are? Someone outed you to them, maybe a family member, someone outed you to them and then they kicked you out. So you should be grateful they're talking to you again. It made me uncomfortable for the reason that these people said some really disturbing stuff about me after I was outed, and I'd rather not talk to them or talk about it. So this guy says to mom, I don't want to be around them. And also you haven't apologized to me yet. And mom gets pissed and says, you should just attend this family Thanksgiving family reunion thing and not care because it's done. No. He also talks about his siblings in here, and we're gonna talk about this. Is it hard to be a sibling who is under the roof of parents who have kicked another sibling out for something they didn't actually do anything wrong with? Yes. To expect someone to allow themselves to be made less than human and then sit and be okay with it while they're served turkey next to people who will actively support people who are removing their right to be human being. It's an unreasonable expectation. If you put up boundaries, it's scary to people who benefited from you not having boundaries, right? They're going to not like it and they're going to make it a problem for you. That doesn't mean you have to listen to them. These family members are not doing what's best for you. They are not telling you anything that is uplifting or helpful or, humanizing for you. They're not acknowledging what they did, and they're expecting you to just get over it and go with these other family members so that everybody can be together. It sounds to me like the parents are very interested in having everyone together so the rest of the family sees that and sees them as a good family rather than what is actually important to their child. You're definitely not the asshole. Don't go. That's it for today. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you all next time. And until then, take care of yourselves and each other.